Nostalgia is defined by an excessive sentimental yearning for a past period or an irrecoverable condition. So why do we feel that when we watch our favorite childhood movies, or listening to a specific song, or even playing an older game? We continue to grow every day, so would any of us regret not spending that extra day or extra time doing something we enjoy? Or would we feel content that we lived through something that many may only wish for? Why is it so easy for us to fall for nostalgia baits when we know that we aren't getting that time back? But let's talk about remakes. I grew up in the 2000s era where I was introduced to video games by my dad when he showed me the Super Mario Bros. For the first time. The controls were so simple, even a toddler could play it. I remember my dad was the only one good at the game, and watching him get to stages I only dreamed of made me brim with excitement for what's new. And to this day, I refuse to get to the princess because I don't feel nostalgic for the ending, but I feel the yearning to cheer my dad on every time he beats Bowser. After my dad, my older brother introduced me to the PlayStation 1, and that's when I gained consciousness and started playing my own games. Crash Bandicoot was the go-to in my household. Everyone gets one life, and you can't play the game if you're snacking. And just like Mario, everyone else was better than me at Crash. But this time around, we all managed to beat Crash at our own pace. Then my brother brought a game called Dino Crisis, which scared me. And to this day, I only remember seeing a T-Rex. I'm sure at the time it was a boss fight, but I never saw the ending of that game. I was too scared to play it on my own, and no one else played it. Then I found out I can get more games at every weekend if I was good and finished all my homework. So throughout the week, I was locked in, finished all my homework just so on Saturday, I can go to the game shop and flip through the massive catalog of games till I found one I really like. And every time I flipped through, a game would always catch my eye. I never bought it because it looked scary, so I just looked past it. But one day, my brother took me to the store, and as I flipped through the catalog, he was over my shoulder watching, holding his allowance in his hand, seeing what game he's gonna get. And I flip to a page, and he puts his finger on it. As I'm staring at the page, he picks the game I always flip past, and I knew that I won't be able to play it, so I picked Pepsi Man. I go home and he tells me that I can play my game first, and I am loving it. This was the first game I saw with real-life cutscenes instead of pre-rendered shapes. And I love that man every time he opens a Pepsi can. He was my cheerleader whenever I beat a stage and consoled me whenever I lost. This time, however, no one else was able to beat Pepsi Man. We all died at the Coca-Cola truck. And yes, I know it doesn't say Coca-Cola on it, but come on, they were competitives. We called it that, so that's what I'm going to call it. My brother watched me play my game, and when it was his turn to play, I was leaving the room, but he stopped me and asked me to join. I told him that I was too scared of the game, but he was insistent on it. He boots up Silent Hill. As he progresses through the game, I inch away towards the door, and he turns to me and asks why I'm scared of a video game. It's not gonna hurt me. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me closer to the TV, and he placed my hand on the screen and says, "See?" All that fear and anxiety I felt slowly disappeared as I watched him play through Silent Hill. He did get bored of it eventually, and then tried to beat Pepsi Man, but it ignited something in me, and I wanted to see the ending of the game. Will anyone else play it, or is it gonna be like the other discs left to collect dust? Will this be another scary game that I'll never see how it ends? And like clockwork, we rotated through the PlayStation time. I get to play after school because I never had much homework. Then we try to beat stages in Pepsi Man. Until summer, that's when it was my time. While everyone went out to hang out with their friends, all of mine were too young and lived too far. So my friend was Harry Mason. He was looking for his daughter and needed my help. So him and I traveled through the gruesome world of Silent Hill, collecting clues and kicking ass. Nothing stood a chance against us. And at the end, I saw the credits roll, and the only thing I remember was my mother telling me to go to sleep because there's school tomorrow. School? But it's summer. Turns out that I spent the entire summer trying to beat Silent Hill, and I surprisingly didn't feel regret. I felt happy that I reunited Harry with his daughter. Even if it wasn't his, still counts. So when I placed my head on that pillow, I just went through the memories I created with Harry. How happy he must have felt getting his not daughter back. And time went by, and I passed my second grade, and my dad asked me what I want as a reward for my hard work, and I tell him that I want the PlayStation 2. I honestly didn't know if it existed at the time, but we went to the game shop, and there it was. in all of its glory, the blue box of my dreams awaits me. How exciting it was for me to flip through a whole new catalog of games, whole new graphics and worlds for me to beat. I get my PlayStation, my games, and I head home, ready to spend summer with all my new friends. However, this time around, I wasn't allowed to spend all my summer indoors. Had to go out and play with the other kids in the neighborhood. I didn't mind doing that, but every evening I didn't have much time to play my games because everyone was home and we only had one TV. Summer finished and I never got to beat any of the games I gotten. That's okay because I know that means every weekend I'll buy a new one, and every day of school I paid attention and participated and did my homework because I knew on Saturday I would have a new adventure, and in summer I'll be rewarded for my hard work. Going through every single page, seeing all the new games released made me both happy and sad. Happy to have a new game, but also sad that I couldn't have more than one. I passed the 3rd grade, and I'm happy because I did so well, which meant I get to have another reward. I asked my dad for a new game and a memory card, so I don't lose my progress. But just like last summer, I wasn't allowed to spend all my time indoor. I still enjoyed my time, even though I didn't get to play my new games or progress much. This continued until the summer of 04. My own catalog of games has expanded over 3 years of owning the PlayStation 2. There was one game series that stood out to me the most, which was the Resident Evil games. This portion of the video isn't sponsored, but it's a quick reminder to tell you to subscribe. We're trying to reach 1K and you could always undo it. The actual portion of this video will act as a rant. We're gonna discuss and compare several games from the original state to remakes and mention a reboot and talk about a few remasters. So let's begin with arguably the best remake in recent years, and of course I am biased, Resident Evil 4. The original game was released in 2005 and I loved everything about it. From the music to combat to the dialogue, and of course the story was basically every action movie from the 2000s era. If anyone had the pleasure of playing the original, then you know that it still holds water to this day. It is in everyone's top 5 survival horror games, and now the remake will be in new generation's lists. However, the remake fails to capture the feel of the original. Yes, the enemies are still there, and the careless Leon is still attractive, but it feels less than what the original was. This isn't a hit piece on the remake. I loved it and would recommend it to everyone. However, we should all recognize its flaws. It has far less features than the original. If you wanted the music from the original, then you'll have to pay extra to have it. Otherwise, you can just stick to the remake music, which takes away from the beauty of the original. If you wanted to play separate ways, then you'll have to pay for a DLC. I'm not complaining since the DLC is only $10, but the original offered the story game mode, the mercenaries game mode, and separate ways. The same things as the remake, but with more money. The difference here is that they still cut away content. Assignment Ada is a forgotten relic of time in the original Resident Evil 4. Everyone forgot about that game mode because it was about 10 minutes long, give or take. But the argument I'm making is that the remake took away content and demanded money for specific features that was available in 2005. Another game that does the same thing is The Last of Us. In the original game back in 2013, there was a multiplayer game mode called Factions, where you tend to care for a group of people by battling other players for rations and medicine, and trying to complete 12 weeks, which is about 84 online matches. But the game kept an equal grounds for all players. You pick your loadout, and if you play the game mode well, then you can buy upgrades during matches, and it was insanely fun to play. However, recently, Naughty Dog cancelled Factions 2 project, which means we will not be getting a feature from the original game. The Last of Us Part 2 also had a remaster, but to be fair to it, they added a sandbox game mode, which looks fun, but I prefer Factions. Another game that I believe does things better is Dead Space. I never played Dead Space at any point growing up, so when I learned the remake adds more features and lore-related stories and even side quests, I had nothing but respect for such passion. But of course, it wouldn't be a logical video without ups and downs. So here is one of the major downs. The reboot of Saints Row. How on earth can you fuck it up that badly? That amount of fuck up should be studied, honestly. I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest here. I never really gave a damn about Saints Row. I'm a Grand Theft Auto kid, and yes, they did fuck up their definitive edition, but not to the point of Saints Row. I mean, the reboot can't even compete with the bullshit Rockstar did. They even offered the game for free on Epic Games during Christmas. Don't worry though, we are winding down to what this video was about. The game that I love so dearly from my childhood that I can't find words to express my love for it, and my fear that it will not be a good remake. Silent Hill 2. If we were to look at every Silent Hill game in existence, including PT. So in this scenario, PT came out. I am willing to bet that none of them would compare to Silent Hill's story. Not because of James. I never really liked James, he was never really a good dude. But every storyline in Silent Hill 2 would beat out every single Silent Hill. Even PT. I'm gonna say this now. PT was only going to be a horror game. I love Hideo Kojima, and I think he's one of the best video game designers, and I'm excited for his project with Jordan Peele, but PT was designed as a horror fetish to scare the shit out of you, and that's it. And it does that very well. Let me just say that, okay? If we're talking from a horror aspect, PT, definitely the scariest Silent Hill. But James's storyline isn't the only thing that made Silent Hill good. The mystery behind the letter and discovering the lore of the side characters in the game is what made it so incredible. When I played the original, the thing that I realized is that James isn't the main character, he is just the guy that I control. Every person in Silent Hill is their own main character, and they see the hell that the town curated for them. But just like the Resident Evil 4 remake, will this remake capture the feel of the original? Is the point behind it to be a cash grab? From what I've seen so far in the trailers, I'm already disappointed. It seems like they have a long ways to go, and I'm even more worried that they might change some of the stories. We don't know that they'll keep the feel of the original with its music, side characters, and lore, or are they going to change it? Of course, anything is, speculation here. Because of the changes we've seen in other remakes, from cut content to dialogue changes, I want to tell you one of the side stories of the characters. I believe that this story embodies what Silent Hill is all about, and that's the story of Angela Orozco. Angela is a 19-year-old who worked as a waitress according to her lore. She's in Silent Hill looking for her mother. We learn this when we meet her at a gravesite, and she warns James that there is something wrong with this town. Then we meet her in different locations and we start to piece together the story of Angela. Unlike many characters in Silent Hill series, she's the only one who suffered due to her circumstance and not her choices. Other characters are dragged into town because of their bad deeds, and I never felt sympathy towards any of them. But I felt sorry for Angela, who was sexually and physically abused repeatedly by her lumberjack father, Thomas, and her brother. Her mother knew about it and did nothing, and even blamed Angela for being a seductress. This gave her a self-blaming habit where she began to believe that the reason her circumstance exists is because of her own doing. Not that she was placed in such a terrible environment. This evolved to self-harm, but she would always hesitate before ending her own life. At an unknown point in time, Angela's mother left her family, leaving her alone with her brother and her father. After graduating high school, she runs away from home, only to be brought back by her father. And in turn, she stabbed both her brother and father, and that's when she was called to Silent Hill to seek her mother. The story of Angela ends with her standing on a burning staircase in the Lakeview Hotel, hallucinating James as her mother, and asks if he will take care of her. James looks down ashamed, then comments that the room is hot as hell, to which Angela replies that it's always been that way for her, that her life has always been a living hell. She then ascends the staircase, disappearing into the flames. I figured that by the end of this video, I would have a clear answer as to why we fall for these baits. Even I know that I fall for them willingly. I know these companies are feeding off my memories, and I end up paying the price for it. But just like the start of the video, it's the memories that I created with these games. It's the feeling of accomplishment I got in finishing a game. But I'm not a kid anymore, so I can't spend an entire summer playing a game just because I wanted to help a guy named Harry. But I suppose these games taught me how to feel for others. We've played games that heavily weigh on the player's choice, and most people end up being a good force in the game because doing something bad doesn't really feel good. So just like watching old movies or listening to your favorite song or even playing your favorite game growing up, you're creating memories that will last with you a long time. You feel the comfort you felt once during your childhood, and whether I'll feel that for future remakes or not, it's not something I'm not willing to find out. Maybe that's the fault. Maybe we fall for these nostalgia baits because we know how it made us feel as kids and think it'll feel the same, and it doesn't. It doesn't feel the same, but it doesn't feel bad either. So I don't know about you, but I think I'm gonna fall for more nostalgia bait just a little bit longer. And hopefully Angela's story makes me feel sympathetic towards her like I once did. Then it'll be the same feeling I had before. That's the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.